Mate, do you reckon you'd know what to say if a bloke asked you where he could get a butcher? What about a pony? Or if he started rattling off numbers like 5, 7 and 10? What if he asked you for a handle? Or a midi? Or a schooner? Or a pot? What the bloody hell would he be talking about? Well, to make matters even worse, mate, what if it was you wanting to ease your worries by imbibing some of the local drop? How would you know how to order it? Would you stick out like an Hawaiian shirt-wearing, long-socked American tourist? Or would you wander confidently up to a bar, cool as a cucumber, looking like a surfie, and ordering a beer using the local lingo? Pot of wombat, thanks, mate. Would you be able to say that, mate? Well, mate, after working through this section with me, you will. The first thing to realise, mate, is that what's good for ordering a pig's ear in one part of Oz might be absolutely useless in another part of Oz. In fact, mate, you might just infuriate the locals by using the wrong lingo.
Mate, if you want to get yourself a pig's ear down under, you've got to be a bit more specific. Now, mate, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the way you order a beer depends on which part of this great country you're in.
So what can a bloke do to escape public ridicule then? Well, mate, the best thing he can do is to learn as much as he can from me, and then, more importantly, pay close attention to the profound words of the beer-drinking locals in whatever part of Oz you happen to be in. So, mate, rather than going state by state giving you 50,000 different combinations of glass size, I'm just going to give you the bare minimum to survive down under without going thirsty. Then I'll point out some of the more interesting variations, and from there you can discover additional names for glasses as an exercise next time you're out on an Oz pub crawl. One thing you'll discover, mate, is that beer glasses in their names are a very emotional topic for Aussies. God help you if you order an unusual size, or even worse, use the lingo from another state to do so. But having said that, mate, in my view, the most important measure of all down under is what's known, at least in most states, as the schooner. This is especially important in New South Wales, as it is the most popular measure there, and almost certainly what you'll order if you're in Sydney. The schooner I'm talking about, of course, is the 425mm schooner, or 15 ounces, and this beast can be found wandering the pubs of New South Wales, the Northern Territory and Western Australia. For many, mate, including myself, it's the perfect size.
Mate, if you want to fit in with the locals up Queensland way, you won't be ordering yourself a schooner. While in my humble view the schooner is the perfect size for drinking, not too big, not too small, those banana benders love their little pots. So sorry, mate, no schooner this time.
As Croc noted, mate, schooners are not always well received in Queensland, the Sunshine State, although I've noticed they're creeping north of the border every day, much the same way Queensland cane toads are creeping south. An eye for an eye, eh? Strangely enough, mate, in South Australia these sorts of schooners are called pints, except they're much smaller than pints found everywhere else in Oz. Confused? Well, to make things even more difficult, South Australia has schooners as well, except they're not schooners.
No worries, mate. You know, of course, that a schooner in South Australia is the same as a pot in Queensland and a midi in New South Wales. That means that an SA schooner is smaller than a New South Wales schooner. Tough, eh, mate?
This leads us to the next most useful size down under, which is called a pot by Queenslanders, Victorians and Taswegians. Pots are only 2/3 the size of a schooner, a miserable 10 ounces, and yet they're almost the only glass you'll see in Queensland or Victoria. There are many theories as to why this may be, mate. Some people say a larger drink will result in your beer going warm, which is fair enough as Oz can get very hot, particularly in North Queensland. In any event, mate, New South Welshmen and others often ridicule pot drinkers for the size of, well, their beers.
Mate, you got the bloody lingo down pat anyway. Those Queenslanders sure do love their pots. Too bloody small for me, but who am I to say?
I must say, mate, this isn't very fair because where there are pots, there are often jugs. And jugs are much bigger than schooners.
Good on you, mate. On the jugs. Everyone loves jugs, don't they, mate? Bloody oath they do.
For some reason, mate, jugs aren't appreciated by Sydney siders.
By crocky, mate. You either think you're a banana bender or a Melbourneite. Mate, that jugs and pots nonsense won't win you any favours in Australia's first state.
In New South Wales, pots are known as middies, although the smaller size is still frowned upon when anyone but an old man or a woman drinks them.
Mate, you got the New South Wales lingo, but not the thirst. But in this age of responsible drinking, who am I to blame you? Funny you know, mate. Those mad Queenslanders and Victorians call a middy a pot.
And of course, mate, in keeping with the theme of interstate intolerance, God help you if you order a pot in Sydney.
Mate, you've obviously gone troppo from spending too much time up north. You're not in bloody Queensland now, mate.
Or a middy in Brisbane.
Mate. While you got the size right, you haven't got the lingo right. Queenslanders don't have middies, mate. I don't know why, mate. Perhaps they're all as mad as cut snakes.
But this can work both ways, mate. Try, for example, to order a schooner in Victoria.
Struth, big fella. Sydney this. New South Wales that. Be buggered if I'm going to let honest Victorians start ordering schooners in my pub. A schooner has no place in this state, mate. No place at all.
And similarly, mate, a schooner has no friends at all in Tasmania.
Fair dinkum cobber. No dinky-dyed Tasmaniac would use that expression.
And given the historical Sydney-Melbourne rivalry, Victorians take particular offence at you calling a pot a middy.
Fair dinkum, mate. Leave the opera house at the door, would you?
Pots/middies are known as handles in Tassie, although I will admit they do come with a handle, unlike the Queensland or Victorian counterparts.
Mate, you're not in bloody Tassie. The only place I've ever heard handle being used was in the apple aisle. Those Taswegians love their handles. And their tens, bless 'em.
Pots are known as tens in North Queensland, mate. In fact, in lots of parts of Oz, you can order beers simply by the number of ounces in the glass. For example, mate, 5, which is a pony everywhere else, 7, or 10, which, as I've said, is just a pot or a middy.
Mate, now you're sounding like a real local from up North Queensland. Good on you, mate. Either that, or you're a real old bastard living in Brisbane.
Sadly, mate, as Croc indicated, ordering by the number of ounces is fast becoming confined to the more remote areas of the country, such as the Territory, Northern Queensland, Tasmania, and old bastards sitting by themselves in the bigger cities.
Mate, I don't know if you used to be able to order a 10 in WA, but you can't now. So try again, mate. Mate, I could have given you a 7 at a pinch, but you don't even hear 10 around New South Wales these days. Perhaps one of the old codgers would use it, but in this new century of ours, I just won't serve you with that order.
And in some places, you mightn't have any luck at all if you try and order with a number.
Fair crack of the whip, mate. We don't sell tens.
Anyway, mate, they're the bare essentials. And with the pot, schooner, middy lingo, chances are you won't exactly go thirsty when travelling down under. But of course, mate, that's just the beginning. Sometimes you don't have to specify a glass at all. In some places there's no choice as to what glass you get. You just ask for a beer. And of course, mate, in some remote places like Kalgoorlie in Western Australia, there are really weird ordering systems, such as the following.
Mate, you're right on top of the bloody lingo, aren't you? None of the other states use super to mean heavy and unleaded to mean light. You're a dinkum WA, you are.
And mate, if you ever notice an Aussie walking about with scar tissue on their bottom lip, chances are they're from the Territory, and that they spend their day drinking beer from cans. Tinnies, mate. This, of course, has led to the Territory developing its own ordering system for rapid access.
Good on you, mate. You've cracked the territory code of ordering beer by reference to the colour of the can it comes in. Because Wombat comes in a brown can is what's asked for.
Incidentally, this little code must get a good bloody workout, as the territory has the highest per capita beer consumption in the entire bloody world. Anyway, mate, as I said, I think that you've got enough of a beer lingo survival pack to stop you from going thirsty. And you're aware that the names for beer glasses change from place to place down under, which is the main thing. So, mate, best of luck with your drinking, and remember to first check with the locals so you don't make a drongo of yourself at the bar. Cheers, mate.